Hey, hi. Welcome to English Grammar class. I am Miss Anne, and today we're going to learn about clauses and the types of clauses. It promises to be a very interesting, simple, short class. So join me and let's begin. So, what is a clause? A clause is a group of words that has a subject and a verb. A clause is a group of words that has a subject and a verb. A subject is the person that is performing the action, the person who is doing something, while the verb is the action that is being performed. Do we get that? So if I say I am talking, I am the subject. What am I doing? Talking is my verb. I am dancing. I am the subject and dancing is my verb. So subject is the doer while the verb is the action. So every clause has a subject and a verb. That means every clause has a doer and the action. Now examples of clauses. I am going to the gym. So I is the subject, going is my verb. I went to school. I is the subject, went is my verb. I will call you when I get home. I is the subject, call is my verb. Now, I is not the only subject you have. Because I'm using I doesn't mean that the only subject you have is I. I'm not the only one who can do something. He, she, you, they, the dog, the man, the baby. Do we get that? The class. So all of those things, whoever is performing an action is what you call the subject. Now, there are two major types of clauses. The first one is your main clause, or you can call it independent clause. Number one type of clause is main clause or independent clause. Number two type of clause is subordinate clause or dependent clause. Now, very shortly, we're going to find out the difference between these two. Now, take note that clauses are a group of words that have a subject and a verb, right? Now, there are some clauses that can stand on their own and make sense, while some you need to add a couple more words for it to make sense. That is kind of the difference between a main clause and a subordinate clause. So let's take a look at both of them individually. So beginning with main clause. A main clause expresses a complete thought. It can stand alone as a sentence. That means once you have said the main clause, you are good to go. You don't need to add any other thing for your message to be understood or for what you are saying to be understood. A main clause is independent. You know what it means to be independent? Independence, you don't need nobody, right? Independent, you are on your own, you are responsible for yourself, so you take responsibility for your action, you are free to make decisions and to do things. So a main clause is kind of like a mother. You know, a mom or a mother is like an adult, so she takes care of herself, also takes care of other people like dad, the kids, and other affairs, right? So a main clause is like a mother, while your subordinate clause is like the child. You know, the child still has to depend on the mom. You still have to ask for permission. You still have to ask for guidance. You can't really do things on your own without your mom being there to put you through. So that's kind of like the difference between a main clause and a subordinate clause. So talking about main clause. So main clause, like I said, it expresses a complete thought. It can stand on its own because it is the mom. Example, my father bought a new car. Once I talk like that, you understand what I'm trying to say. It makes complete sense, right? Now, they are playing outside. The sun is shining. He cleaned his room. So, all these sentences are main clause sentences. They are independent. They express a complete thought. I don't need to add or put in one or two more words for you to get what I'm trying to say. That is that about main clause. So I believe we understand main clause. Now let's check out subordinate clause. Now, like I made it simple for us, I said subordinate clause is like the child. It is dependent. Means the child still needs his mom. He needs his mom to support him. He needs his mom to show him the way. He needs his mom to like make decisions for him and to grant him permission before he or she can do something. So subordinate clause need main clause before they can fully express themselves, before they can actually give meaning and make sense. Is that okay? Now, for you to easily identify subordinate clause always makes use of conjunctions. Now, conjunctions are words that we use to connect or join two sentences together. So when you see examples of conjunctions, like when you see words like because, when, if, although, before, after, since, and so on, All those words give you a clue that this is a subordinate clause. Look at the examples here. If it rains tomorrow. If I just say if it rains tomorrow, it's not complete. You know that something is missing. I still have to say a couple of words more for you to fully understand what exactly I'm trying to say. That is subordinate clause. Because she was tired. I just started something and say because she was tired. Something is missing. It's not complete just yet. When the lights went off. So words like this and so many more are what you call subordinate clause. So they always start with conjunctions. So if you are very familiar with what conjunctions are, you will find it super easy to be able to identify subordinate clause. So I've already told us that main clause is the mother, subordinate clause is the child. Main clause, it is independent, it can stand on its own and make sense. But subordinate clause cannot stand on its own. It needs someone. And who is that person? It needs main clause to be able to stand on its 2 feet and make sense. So it is not complete without a main clause. And I said that subordinate clause always have conjunctions. Now let's look at example of a sentence that has both a main clause and subordinate clause so that we can be able to identify which one is a main clause and which one is a subordinate clause. So example, I went home because it was getting dark. Now I went home is main clause because if I just say I went home, that is perfect, that is complete. But if I just start and say because it was getting dark, that is a reason. So something has to come before I can give a reason or an explanation. So did we see that? So because it was getting that, because is a conjunction, it is used to join sentence. So because it was getting that, that is your subordinate clause. Although he was tired, he finished his homework. Now if I say he finished his homework on his own. It's complete. It makes sense. But although he was tired, is not yet complete. So although he was tired is your subordinate clause. So that although is a conjunction. Like I said, if you are really good with conjunctions, you will find it super easy to be able to identify subordinate clauses. Now, I like the book that you gave me. I like the book is the main clause. It's complete on its own. That you gave me. That you gave me. That is your word subordinate clause. We waited until the bus arrived. We waited. Main clause. Until is a conjunction. So every other sentence coming after until is your what? Subordinate clause. If you study hard, you will pass the exam. That if you study hard, subordinate clause. You will pass the exam, main clause. And lastly, when the teacher entered, everyone stood up. So when the teacher entered, subordinate clause. Everyone stood up, main clause. So get familiar with your conjunction because subordinate clauses always begin with what? Conjunctions. Now they can appear at the beginning of a sentence or appear towards the ending of a sentence. So with everything that we have learned so far, I believe we can try out this exercise right here. Main clause is the mother, subordinate clause is the child. Subordinate clauses always have conjunctions. So look out for the conjunctions and you've simply found your subordinate clause. So look at your practice time. I will go home when the class ends. I want you to identify the sentence underlined. Now, is that a main clause or subordinate clause? So I will go home when the class ends. So I underlined I will go home. Is it main clause? Is it subordinate clause? The sun is shining. Main clause or subordinate clause? She laughed because the joke was funny. Because the joke was funny. Is it a subordinate clause or is it a main clause? When she saw her mother, main clause or subordinate clause? Before she went to bed, main clause or subordinate clause? They left the field, main clause or subordinate clause? And finally, they kept quiet. Is it a main clause? Is it a subordinate clause? So identify your conjunctions and then you will know whether it is a main clause or a subordinate clause. And with that, we've come to the end of today's class on clauses and the types of clauses. So see you in our next class, okay? Bye.